Right then, in this video it's time to finally get the Corsa C cleaned, because I've got to get it over to a family member by the end of today. So a few things are going to have to wait on it, unfortunately, but for now the most important thing is to do, to be honest with you, the bit I tend to enjoy the most, which is just trying to make this look a little bit more loved. So anyway, let's get cracking. So now that I'm in Locutors of Burke mode, let's get started. Okay then, so a slight departure from the usual video format for these. Because I haven't got a lot of time today, I don't want to be doing lots of tripod shots, so I'm actually going to go with a POV wash, but unlike the normal ones which I do commentary free, I'm actually going to talk you through, at stages at least, some of the products that I'm using and how I'm going to go about decontaminating this car. So it's only a very basic thing I'm going to do today, but what I'm going to do is attack the wheels first with a proper cleaner. I'm then going to snow foam the vehicle, give it a 2-bucket wash. I'm then going to go over some areas of it, maybe not the whole car, with a clay mitt, and then just to finish off I'm going to use some of this, if I pick up the right bottle, this Hybrid Solutions Pro Flex Wax. Now I normally use and have previously used in the past Meguiars Hybrid Ceramic Wax, so this is actually my first proper test of this on the Corsa, so it'll be quite interesting to see how I get on with it. You can use it in a variety of different ways, but I'm just going to go with the sort of straightforward spray on wipe off approach with it. I'm also going to try 2 different wheel cleaners on each side to see how I get on. So I've got Bilt Hamber stuff that I've been using recently, and again I've bought some of the turtle wax stuff to try as well. Basically the same sort of product, you know, iron and contamination remover. So I've probably not got quite enough in there to do all 4 wheels, so I thought I'd try and do one side with that, and then I'll attack them with a jet wash and see how things compare. In terms of bucket setup, I run 3, so I have a wash bucket, a rinse bucket, and then a separate bucket, usually for wheels and really sort of dirty, scraggly jobs. And also, as I've mentioned before, I have a snow foam cannon, and I've got some Bilt Hamber snow foam in that. I'm actually not that keen on it, and I'm probably going to swap back to the Autogylm stuff I was using before, or try something else afterwards. I've been a bit disappointed with this, but it's going to be absolutely fine for today's purposes. And we've got the standard problem of noisy buses going by. Joy. The other product I'll mention that I use, and again none of this is sponsored, this is all stuff I've bought over time myself. A few people who've seen sort of pictures and stuff on Twitter have asked about these little things that I wedge underneath the wheels and tyres. Basically they're designed to catch this and stop it from getting snagged when you're going around the car. It's quite handy, really. So that's what they're for, and again I'll include a link to everything I'm trying today in the description below. I will get onto the interior. My detailing trolley is not in the usual ordered state that it should be in, but it'll be sufficient for today. But I've got all sorts of other products as well to do. I have also given the interior a bit of a first pass, but there's still quite a bit to do on the inside of here, mainly the glass. I want to try and get a bit better. I'm going to see if I can clean some of these fabrics up, that because I've got to drive it today I haven't got time to wet vac it, which is a real shame, because that's in an ideal world what I'd like to do. But as it stands, it'll be a case of wipe all the interior plastics down, get all the glass clean, give it a bit of a freshen up and get cracking. So anyway, first step is to make a start on these wheels. So I don't think these have been cleaned for a very long time, to be honest with you, looking at the state of them. So I'll try a bit of the Bilt Hamber stuff on this side. And the way these products work, as you use them, they change colour as they react with the iron. The iron build up on the wheels. Probably won't see as much on the back. But I'll give them a really good liberal coating. Oh, that's that side. I probably should wear gloves when I use that, but I don't. And like I say, let's give the Autogylm product a try on the other side, shall we? This is the other thing, I think, yeah, my microfiber cloth ratio in my house now is just truly ridiculous. Right, so give this a go. These products always smell awful as well. It's like it's the same spray pattern regardless of which side you use. Oh, that's a much I panicked then. I wondered if I was using the wrong product. It is the wheel cleaner. That's a much more liquid product than the Bilt Hamber, which is interesting. If you ever use these decon products, you always want to do the wheels first, because any overspray you get, if it dries, can cause marks on plastics and other problems I've found as well. So, and it's always a good idea to start with your wheels and a separate bucket first, because it's the dirtiest part inevitably, other than sort of getting right into the sills and maybe some other areas. That's the other thing I'll do, is I'll give the sills on this a bit of a blast out as well, because there's a fair bit of mud everywhere in various places. But yeah, we'll see how those react now. So you can see the Bilt Hamber product working quite nicely on that side already. I apologise if these camera angles are all wrong. This is an experiment using the super wide to try and get as much in as possible, because I can always crop this a little bit later if I need to, and fix any distortion. But yeah, like I say, you can see that's reacting. So there's a fair bit on there. There'll be a lot more on the front, I'd imagine. Oh, it's a bumblebee. There we go. So leave them for a couple of minutes, let that product react, and then I'll jet wash it all off, and I'll probably jet wash the arches out at the same time as well, because there'll be a fair bit of crud, I would imagine, that's going to come out of those. Let's see how the yeah, I've got to say, you're not seeing anywhere near the same sort of reaction out of the turtle wax product, and I think they cost about the same. We'll see how things look when we jet wash them, but I'm going to say it's probably thumbs down to the turtle wax wheel cleaner. I'm not too impressed with that so far. I know I sprayed them a little bit later, but the reaction to that versus how that product clings and appears to be reacting on the wheel, yeah, I can't say as I'm filled with too much confidence. Let's grab a... need to turn that on. So yes, I haven't had time, unfortunately, to do the timing chain on the Corsa, which is a bit of a shame. I suppose I ought to make sure I'm actually bloody recording. I am recording. I haven't had time to do the timing chain on the Corsa, sadly, so I'm going to have to let it go as it is and cross my fingers and see what happens. But that said, nearly every single POV drive and anything else I've seen for these cars, the engines all seem to sound awful, so maybe that's just how they are. Okay, so I've given these a couple of minutes, and now what I'm going to do is give them a very quick agitation. Where's my brushes? I'll tell you what, I should have a brush in there thinking about it. Oh, there's going to be lots of edits on this video today, so that will do. I'll just start by... yeah, if this was... I think the theory behind these products is that when your wheels are in a good state, you can spray them on and you pretty much do a contactless clean and you jet wash off 90% of the dirt, but these are bad enough that I know I'm not going to get away with that, so I'm just going to go straight in and give them a good agitation. I'll just see what these wheels come up like. I mean, they're well corroded, as you'd expect a car of this age with alloy wheels to be. But, yeah, I've got a feeling these might require more than one hit. But, So you can really see it working on the front wheels, and what it's doing is, well, the way these iron fallout removers work is they're basically dissolving a lot of what comes off the brake discs and pads. So quite often you'll use a sort of a regular wheel cleaner and you'll find you've got really stubborn little black spots that you can't shift, and that's what these are designed to sort out. So I had a panic then because I wondered momentarily if there was a wheel bolt missing, but it's just a wheel bolt cover that's missing, so that's fine. I once failed an MOT on a car for a missing wheel bolt, which was a big surprise to me, because I do this sort of cleaning on my cars on a very regular basis, so you would think that I would notice a missing wheel bolt, and somehow prior to the MOT I missed it. Because when he told me, I was like, sorry, can we just make sure that we're actually talking about my car here and not some other lunatics? The other thing I think I would do if this was my car long term is change all 4 tyres. But again, I don't know, honestly at this stage, how long my sister's going to have this for. I think there's a strong possibility that I might wind up with it back at some point, and if I do, then I will make an effort to do some of the other things to it that I wanted to do originally. But well, although it doesn't seem to have much sort of immediate iron removal performance, it does seem to be an okay wheel cleaner in itself, that turtle wax. I mean, it's certainly fetching the stuff off. Kind of wish I'd stuck with the original plan of jet washing them now, but I think they're so dirty that I wouldn't have had a favourable outcome anyway. So much muck in the middle of that, in the centre badges on these. It's unreal. I think I'm going to give these wheels more than one hit though, because they are properly mucky. So I'm not 100% sure when the previous owner last washed this, but I think it's fair to say it was a while ago. The other thing I may throw at this if I have time today is a bit of tar remover as well, but I won't really know how much is on it until I've given it a really good wash and had a chance to evaluate everything. Forgetting I've got my wheel woolies. These are quite good. Not so good for smaller spoke wheels, but if you've got larger spoke wheels, these can be quite handy and a bit of a time saver as well. Yeah, the centre of those badges is still absolutely filthy. So yeah, I will be giving these a second and possibly even a third hit, I think. Alright, let's give these a jet wash off and see how things look.
Oh dear, got a bit of crusty wheel arch in there. Oh well. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah, I'm not going to go too mad under there because I don't know, if I pressure wash it too hard in a few places I might put some holes in it. That's not come up bad actually, despite my initial misgivings. Yeah, looking at the way they're coming up, I do think that the Bilt Hamber's probably better if you are needing to tackle a set of heavily contaminated wheels, but I think if you're using the turtle wax as a maintenance product, it's not bad. Really not come up bad at all, really. So yeah, that's really not too bad, but I think what I am going to do, like I say, I'm going to give these wheels a second hit and see how things look. So I'm just going to give these wheels a second hit with this stuff, just to try and get some of the worst of it off, and I'll finish off my Bilt Hamber, I think. Right, that's that one expended. Another! Yeah, we'll let that sit for a couple of minutes, give it another re-agitate, and then we'll move on to the next phase. There we go, so it's been a few minutes now. Let it dwell on the wheels a little bit longer. There's still a bit of reaction happening, but as you can see, nowhere near as much as on the first round. So I'd say the product is doing its job. Whilst I've been waiting for that to sort itself out, I've just been contemplating this arch here, and I think at some point this car has had a scrape on this rear corner, because I've noticed that little bit of arch there is pressed inwards, and I suspect what's happened is just over time that's just started to sort of rot through. It is all solid at the moment, but again, if I was keeping this as my car, or if I have it back as a future project, I think all this trim piece is going to have to come off, and then that's going to have to be investigated as to how bad that is, because in an ideal world I'd like to take all that off and get something on there in terms of rust treatment or proofing just to stop it from getting any worse. But I don't know, we'll have to see on that front. Yeah, there's right down to a crack. Yeah, there's cracks in the paint there, so I wonder if there's a bit of filler or something, and then it's gone over time. Like I say, I'm probably just going to spray a load of wax in there for now that I've got, just to see if that helps slow it all down. But like I say, I'm going to finish off my cup of hot brown, and then we will continue cleaning this car up. Just give everything a second agitation now. So I'm not going to try and do the inside of these wheels, I think that would be ludicrous. And I'm not going to get rid of all of the black staining on them either. This is just an effort to smarten things up. And again, if I had more time, these sorts of wheels on a car at this price point, I would be tempted to have a go at doing my own rattle can resto on, especially as they're a style where you can't really see the inside of them. So we'd probably get away with just refinishing the faces. Still loads of dirt coming out of that badge. That's that raised Vauxhall badge in the middle of these wheels is a real, it's a real dirt trap, that is. Just go over the tyre itself with one of the bigger woolies. And the tyre faces. Like I say, these are quite good actually for wheel cleaning in general. In fact, I don't know why I didn't use the big one to begin with, because it's going in those spokes absolutely lovely. That would have been a bit of a time saver, wouldn't it? Oh well. Yes, these are quite scabrous wheels. Perfectly acceptable given the age, but fairly scabrous nevertheless. Now, the previous owner did tell me this car had got a name, and I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's Bernadette. I might be wrong. I'll double check that, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself on screen. I don't tend to name cars. I don't know. I know it's a popular thing amongst some YouTubers to do so. I wasn't going to give this one a name. It did wind up with a hashtag, which was, of course, it's a disaster, when I did my oil change on it earlier in the week. But generally I don't tend to name cars. In fact, there's been a few times living at home where I've actually wound up giving a car afterwards to my mum, and she's wound up giving it names. But get the muck out of that badge. Like I say, these aren't going to look perfect, but they're going to look a darn sight better than they did. And again, if I had a bit more time today, I'd really hit these a bit more. But for now, I think it's going to be an absolutely colossal improvement on where we were. Yeah, why didn't I just use that to begin with? It would have been so much quicker. There we go. I think that's coming out quite nicely now. I'm not mucking about taking those plastic caps off. Right, let's give these another jet wash. By the way, it's a sad state of affairs that I live somewhere now where I can stand on my driveway with a GoPro recording myself, and everybody considers that to be normal. It just goes to show that they've now clocked me as the loon that I am. Just trying to give that a bit of a flush the other way, just in case there's any mud actually stuck behind there. I'm sure there is. I'm sure that was a chunk of rust. No, it might be. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I won't press too hard there, hey? Just in case. I think that is rust. Yeah, I think that is rust that I'm washing off there. Oh, I don't know. I think it might just be really ingrained dirt. I'll say, at least maybe that will stop some of what's currently sticking in there. The irony is that the rust is probably the mud is probably acting as a sound insulator in the wheel arches. So you've got a bit of natural soundproofing with your mud build up. I don't know, I think they're starting to look presentable. Always amazes me on a dirty car how much difference just cleaning the wheels actually makes. Right, that's annoying me now. Some delightful soul has left a dog turd outside the front of my house for me, which is nice. I think, ironically enough, yeah, this car contained a poo bag, so let's get rid of that before I bloody stand on it. Right, so that's good enough for me. Next stage is to do the snow foam. Get all those raised. I have got some new wiper blades to go on later on today as well. Go. Right. Somehow, I don't think I'm going to need all of this for this sized car. We'll see. The one good thing about today so far as well is at least it's not windy. So hopefully that means I'll be able to do this without covering all my other cars in snow foam. I think I'm going to need a new pressure washer soon. I've had that since I moved in, so over 10 years. It's not done too bad. There we go. Okay. It's still going to go everywhere, isn't it? I can absolutely guarantee that at no point in its life has this car received this sort of cleaning treatment. Oh bugger, I've managed to splash some on the XC. I was desperately trying to avoid doing that. Crap, I'll have to rinse that off. And I've got some on the V70, just for good measure, you know. Oh well. I tried my best. Wow, I really got the V70. Oh. There we go, I've used all that up. So, wow, look at that. I've never seen them fly like that before. Like flying in arrows. They were. There we go. It's probably going to leave a few watermarks, but it's better than leaving detergent staining on everything, and they've both been rained on, so they'll be fine. Right, so I just need to let that run off for a little bit. I don't think the bodywork itself is that dirty. I think the wheels were the dirtiest bit, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'll let that finish off doing what it's doing, and then we'll start the contact wash on it. Right then, let's give this a bit of a rinse off. Excellent, that's not going to cause me to trip over, is it? I'll sort that out. What's that? Oh, knocking things over. I might have to do that one later. Vigilante car clean. Yeah, quite a lot of that dirt is coming off quite nicely at this stage. Nice! Look at all that underneath there. Okay. That's honestly not too bad. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a, or a lot less was going to come off than that. So. I am curious now, just to make sure I haven't got any evidence of wet carpets after doing that. I don't think we have. No, everything still seems to be dry. So he has had it fixed, but I've had plenty of fixes in the past that have turned out later on not to be fixes. So I might just actually give. Where's the? There's a lot of stuff under seams. Better, just so that I'm not rubbing those bits all over the paintwork. Right, so let's grab my rinse bucket. And again, I'm not going to be too precious with this. It's a car that's probably never had a 2-bucket wash in its life. So the chances of me introducing some extra marring is that I'm going to notice is pretty remote. So we'll just start from the top on the roof line and work our way down. So I think this is going to be a lot quicker to wash than one of these two beasts usually is. a few mossy areas like around that wing mirror. I might dip into a few bits with a detail brush afterwards, I think, especially around the badges. What I do tend to do when I wash a car, I'll sort of half and half it, but only until roughly halfway down the door. And then I'll always do that very last bit last, simply because that's where you're likely to pick up the worst of your paintwork damaging dirt. And like I say, use the 2 bucket method and regularly rinse your mitt to try and avoid contamination and dragging things around on the paint. But contact washing, by its nature, even if you are super duper careful, you will eventually inflict some form of marring on your paint. So you've just got to take your time, check your mitt regularly for any contamination. I'm about ready for a new one, actually. These microfiber ones are handy though, because you can machine wash them. I used to use lamb wool ones, which were great, and I did used to machine wash them, but I don't think you were supposed to. Right. Yeah, this I don't think this step's going to take very long at all. Right. So. Can't help but feel like I've over bucketed for this. Right, do the same again. Start at the roof line. I'm also using a turtle wax graphene based wash for this as well. I'm really not convinced on the buzzwords for all of this, but I did have some vouchers through work for Halfords, so I thought rather than throwing my own money at this, I may as well give that a go. But like I say, normally I use Meguiars stuff, so it's Meguiars Gold Class shampoo and then the hybrid ceramic wax for my application, and I've been using that ever since I've had the XC60, and I've been very, very pleased with it. But we'll see how this turtle wax compares on a first application shortly. To be honest with you, it's nice to, I mean, to be fair, I can clean the roof on the V70, but I'm a short arse, so cleaning the roof on the XC60 can be a bit of a pain sometimes. But yeah, that's yeah, I've got a bit of moss and stuff back there. I might just get in with a brush, I think, before I do my first rinse. And just try and get a few areas. Right. A few little detail areas I think that will benefit from a brush going in, I think. That's right, rinse. The idea by this method, by the way, is that you keep your main water clean, and your rinse water obviously takes the majority of the dirt out of everything. Speaking of the dirt, it's now time to start tackling the dirtier parts of the bodywork. The lower bumpers. Got a few stubborn insect marks on there, but they're not too bad. I've got some spray I can use on that if I need to. Looks like they are coming off for the most part. Okay. Obviously, if you're doing this on a hot day, it's a good idea to work in sections so that you don't get too much drying onto the bodywork itself, because that can be a bit of a challenge. Bottom of those doors are a bit dirty, as you'd expect. Okay. Might be able to just see the extra bit of dirt in Mitt there, but again, not terrible, I've got to say. Not terrible at all. Side, do the same again. Right, just be careful there, because I've got some. I don't really want to be getting any rusty chunks into my Mitt if I can avoid it. Okay. Let's give that a really good rinse now that I've been doing some muckier sections. There we go. Alright. You might notice I'm not going all the way to the bottom with this Mitt either. That's because I try and avoid using my main bodywork Mitt too low down on a car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap to my red Mitt, which is currently in the wash bucket for the wheels, and I'll use that wash bucket to do all of the plastic trims and the stuff right at the very bottom of the car, because I really don't want to contaminate my normal wash water in case anything crops up further along down the line. So yeah, these bits of trim, especially bits of plastic trim like this, you know, you don't need to be as precious with as the bodywork. Same with the very lowest sections of the car, because they're the ones that get hit by all the stones and everything else. So I tend to just go with that approach, and you can see, you might be able to see all the crap already that's in that Mitt. So rather than contaminate that Mitt, I use a separate one for the really dirty tasks. Oh. Go again, right down the very bottom. There's quite a lot of black trim on this I'm going to have to dress to get it looking nice. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give everything an initial rinse, and then we'll see how things look. And then, like I say, there's a few bits on this car I think I'm going to have to tackle, like the badges. And there's a few other areas where there's a bit of green moss in that I'd like to see if I can get out, but let's give everything a rinse first, and then we'll see how things look. Oops, tripping over things. Right, I think that's going to do at this stage, because I'm definitely going to have to give this car another rinse. Before I do that, I need to find another detailing brush. Well, I suppose I can use one of the wheel ones, can't I? I don't need to. Okay, that should do the job. So all I'm going to do is going to get right inside some of these seals and bits where I can see the green stuff and just try and get some of this out. Okay, so I've got myself another brush. I'm going to start tackling a few of these mucky areas where we just want to try and get some of the grime and grit out of here. Now, really, I should have done this during the snow foaming stage. I didn't really realise how bad it was. But, so I'm going to give the car another rinse off anyway. Yes, I know I didn't rinse it the first time. Again, I'm not going mad here. I just want to get rid of any obvious moss that's gathering, because that could potentially cause me a problem later on when I come to dry the car off and start applying any product. Clean around the badge. Yeah, still quite a bit of dirt there. Okay. Yeah, you can see the dirt coming out of that badge. I wonder what these are like. Oh, they seem all right now. Right. I noticed quite a bit around the rear lights as well. Again, this is an obsessive detail, probably not necessary. In an ideal world, I would actually completely remove the rear lights on this to do this, but I haven't got time for that today. So I'm just going to have to go with doing what in my mind is half a job. But at least I will feel a little bit happier how this looks. And I'm not going to get rid of all of it. I just want it to be in a position where when I'm washing it I'm not seeing huge chunks of moss dropping out everywhere. I probably will do the door shuts, but I'll do that separately just as a wipe down. Although I suppose I could do it now. I'll look in a second. Yeah, you can see all the built up dirt behind that window seal there. It's a nice piece of lousy GM design there. Whoops, I'm upsetting the Vauxhall fans again, or the Opel fans, because let's be honest, this brand only really exists to placate the British public, because I wonder if I'm right about that. Were Vauxhalls sold anywhere else, or were they only sold in Britain? If you know the answer to that, stick it in the comments below, because I actually don't know. I know that these were branded as Opel in Europe, and I know that Vauxhall was at one point a British car company, but I actually don't know very much about whether Vauxhall sort of had a presence anywhere other than in the UK. In fact, well, we've had two Vauxhalls in the family. We had a Vauxhall Viva which I think my dad blew up. He blew up or he smashed the clutch in it. It was one or the other. Yeah, I've got a few stories to tell about my father, but I don't know if he'd appreciate you hearing about all of them. But he was a biker, and alongside having a really irritating capability of making absolutely anything handle, because I've seen him cover ground in a 2CV far quicker than seems reasonable or feasible. He did go through a phase of having not a great deal of mechanical sympathy, including blowing up clutches and I think ripping the handbrake out of the floor of a Mark 1 Golf as well. So yeah, I have a little bit more mechanical sympathy than that, maybe. I'm just waffling now because I've realised I've started talking on this video. So sorry if you've tuned into this and you've watched some of the other POV videos, which are just like ASMR style ones, but this one's got a lot more rambling and chatting in it. And I have had a few strange looks from people going by as well, which means that no doubt I've been put back on the loony radar, but that's fine. None of my immediate neighbours will be concerned. As they'll go, yeah, that's just David. Assuming I'm still recording, yep. I think that's going to do, to be honest with you, at this stage. Let's see how we look. The power. The power of the twin port. I did watch a video on how that works in the intake manifold. It's quite interesting, actually. Well, I say interesting. Interesting if you're an automotive nerd like me. Probably not that interesting if you're not interested in engineering. Right, I'm just going to give this paint a bit of a feel. I said I was going to run over it with the clay mitt, and I'm wondering if I actually need to. There's a bit of spotting down there that it might benefit from having a clay mitt over it, but actually it doesn't feel too bad. Then again, for how long it's going to take me, I suppose I could. This is assuming, of course, I can find it. Whee! There we go, so there's my clay mitt. Again, I'm just going to put a little bit of soapy water on it and just see if we just hear the bottom of the doors sound like sandpaper. I'm just going to use this, see if I can fetch some of this tar off. I think it's going to need some tar remover actually. Yeah, it is. That's not going to do the job. Okay, not to worry, I'll clay what I can. See, now I've done that door, you might be able to hear the difference. So when I run it over there, it's quiet.
I'm a happy bunny.
What was that?
I've been in the queue all morning for Peter Kay tickets.
Oh, right.
And I've managed to get us 2 tickets for Manchester.
Cool.
In 2024. A bit of a wait, but... I think I might park mine on there tomorrow.
There might have been a comment on the video already to say that I might have to do a vigilante car clean later.
It's awful, isn't it?
If I had time today, I would. But yeah, it's not the worst I've seen it, to be fair.
Well, that's a bonus then.
give it another couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we're going to the depth of winter.
Yeah, and then it's brown. Yeah. Yeah, it's I say the clay Mitt's definitely helping. It's taking a lot of the surface contamination off, and I say I'm doing this really gently. But you can probably just hear it just fetching off some of what's on there. I do the windscreen as well, very gently because of the crack. So taking these contaminants off will just help whatever product I put on the bodywork to bond later. But it's really not too bad. I mean, if this was a more heavily contaminated car, I would probably have gone with a conventional clay. But again, I'm limited on time today. Yeah, that's really not too bad at all for contamination, to be honest with you. I was expecting it to sound a lot rougher than that. And I say this is generally light enough that you don't introduce too much marring. You can introduce a bit of marring with this, but again, given the age and the rest of the condition of the car, I'm not too worried about it. You can probably hear it on the roof there. It really sounds like sandpaper. This is just shifting that layer off. There we go. Bonnet a very quick going over again. As you can hear, you don't need loads of passes with this, and you certainly don't want to be applying any major pressure either. I'm literally pretty much just using gravity to do this, and you don't want to do it on dry paint. Now, if you wanted to be even more careful with it, you could use a proper clay lube to do this, but this wash and wax stuff I'm using is very slick anyway. I think it's going to be more than good enough to prevent any significant marring from this process. And I'm not going to do absolutely everywhere or go too berserk, but again, I just want to get the worst of it off. Tailgates are usually quite bad because, again, there you are, you listen to it there. And you can hear how it gets quieter once it's lifted that initial layer off to the back window as well. You can afford to be a little bit more aggressive with it on glass, but generally, if you've got to be aggressive with one of these to get the contamination off, then this is the wrong thing, and you want to be using a much more aggressive clay in the first place. These are designed to be low risk, easy to use. Yeah, it's had some paint on this door, I think, at some point. I think it's had a scrape that's gone all the way along here into that rear wheel arch at some point in its life. This is the other thing I find interesting about washing a car, is you tend to discover things about it that on first inspection you might have otherwise not noticed. There we go. Right, let me see if I've got any tar remover knocking around. There we go, staring me in the face. And again, normally I would do this a little bit more in stages, but I'm mindful of time at the moment, and because I'm going to probably give these a bit of a wash down in a second anyway, I am just going to give that a really good soaking down here. This is another product that if you spray on and you let it dry on any plastics, you can have problems, so you want to keep it wet. Again, because I'm going to rinse this down anyway. There's going to be at least one person on the internet going, "You're using too much product," and you know something, you are probably right. But excuse me, I only plan on doing this once. There we go. I didn't notice any significant spotting anywhere else. Now, I could have done an iron decontamination on the full car if I wanted to, but again, I haven't really got time for that right now, so I'm just going to use what I've got. I do want to try one of those iron decontamination washers at some point, so I'm quite intrigued about those. So if you've got one that you can recommend, do let me know. Am I still recording? Unfortunately. Right, so what I will do is we'll take a microfiber. We'll see how this is doing now. You can see it's just breaking down the rust, breaking down the tar, and it should pretty much just wipe off then. And again, if I don't get 100% coverage on the tar, I'm not too fussed. I just want to get the worst of it off. And these are all things that in an ideal world you'd then probably do, followed by a machine polish. Well, it's definitely not going to get one of those today, because I have the interior to do as well. But hopefully you can see it's starting to eat through that. It would have probably ate through the tar a little bit better if the bodywork was dry before I sprayed this stuff on. I might give it another go over in a mo, but that's got rid of a lot of it. Just do the same over here, and you can see as soon as it starts digging into it, you agitate it a little bit and it just gets rid of most of the tar. a stubborn bit there. I know there's people going to go, no, don't use a fingernail. It's a £500 car, for goodness sake. What's that there? Okay, right. Let's give this its final rinse down so that I can get it dry. Chip in the paint. Bane of my bloody life, these things are. Alright. Go, get rid of the last of the watery bits. Watery bits. V70 is looking very unhappy about being basically in the overspray zone. Oh well. There we go, I think that's already starting to look quite a bit more presentable. So, I'm going to let that dry off a bit. I'm going to go and make myself another cup of coffee and then we'll get to the drying phase. Okay, right, so it's time to start getting this car dried off. And again, I'm not necessarily going to use super duper drying detail technique on a car that's in this age and condition. I know people talk about pat drying and using guns to blow water off and stuff like that. I've not got time for that today. I've also got two drying towels, and I find myself preferring this one over the soft one. The soft one seems to, well, I'll show you in a minute. I just don't like the way it behaves on wet paintwork. It seems to more often than not leave little bits of microfiber cloth behind, which can be quite annoying. That said, this isn't drying very well either at the moment. So this will no doubt give me a chance to see what the actual condition of the paint is underneath. Yeah, I don't think this is... yeah, this isn't very dry, unfortunately. It's not had a chance to dry off from when I last used it. Okay, we'll try this one. Hopefully you'll see what I mean. But whenever I... it seems very grabby. And if you apply too much pressure, you wind up with little bits of microfiber sticking to everything. As soon as it dries off, we'll get a true idea of the condition of the paint as well. I just don't like the way this feels. I'm going to swap to a new, smaller cloth, I think. I need to give that a good wash and a dry out proper. Excellent. Noisy blackbirds, just what we want today. Right, let's reach in and grab the one of what will probably be first of many Costco microfibers today. Always pull the labels off so that you don't cause any marring on the paint. And again, I just prefer these sometimes. That's better. Happy with how that feels. I'll use this, I think, to dry everything off. Say, it's feeling, as soon as it dries, it's feeling quite slick, actually. Quite surprisingly so. The bonnet's been painted at some point because I can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera, there's a load of scratch marks in the bonnet there, or sanding marks, which is interesting. Again, these are the sorts of things you only tend to notice on a car when you sort of get in close and really have a detailed look at them. Yes, it's picking up water much better. And so we'll get everything nice and dry, and then I can have a look round and just see if I've missed anything. You see the inside of the glass on this is filthy as well, so I'll be tackling that soon. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere now. Yeah, it feels very, the paintwork is very slick actually. Much more slick than I thought it would be. I'm quite impressed with that. And the marring's not too bad on it either. There obviously is some, but for a £500 motor, I think this is going to shine up rather well, you know. The other thing I've been thinking about whilst cleaning this is remembering a work colleague's car. So a chap I work with had a, I'll get my marks of Fiestas wrong, I think it was a Mark III Fiesta, which he bought for £300, and all the way along the roof it was full of red filler, because apparently the previous owner had been involved in some sort of altercation with his or her partner, and they'd attacked it with a golf club. But otherwise it was mechanically sound, it stopped, started and goes, and yeah, my mate Jamie rocked that for another 2 years, I think. It was quite an impressive machine. In fact, I might message Jamie before I put this video out and see if he's got a picture of what that car looked like. It's either a glitch in the matrix or the same learner driver is doing circuits around our village. I suspect it's the same learner driver doing circuits around our village. Don't worry, it's not a editing mistake. Ah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, so the roof is very flat. Very flat. So I think before long we will have the start of lack appeal on the roof of this. It's all the more reason to try and get some protectant on it of some sort. There's a couple of curious marks as well, like that there. That was almost like a paint mark. And I've got a little bit of bubbling as well in the bonnet just there. But I don't know. I don't think that's come up too bad at all, really. All things considered, I think that looks fine. So I'm going to let it finish drying off a little bit. I'm going to finish off my coffee, and then we'll start spraying some wax on it and getting the glass and stuff clean. So it's dried off a bit now. I really don't think that looks too bad. Looking at the bonnet, it's quite interesting. I don't think the entire bonnet has been resprayed. I think only part of it has been. But yeah, it's definitely seen some paint on the front at some point. But yeah, I don't think that's cleaned up too bad at all. I could polish it. But at this stage, with everything else I've got to do, because I've got to do the glass and everything else, it's just not worth it. Chances are before the next MOT I'm going to have to sort this headlight out for her anyway, so rather than get bogged down into trying to polish up parts of the car now, I'm just going to spray a layer of protectant on it, get all the trims and stuff tidied up, and then I'll get cracking on the interior, because I need to get this done before it gets dark, and then I'm heading over there to sort it out. So anyway, I've finished my coffee, and let's crack on. Just check my camera view is still reasonable, which it is. Okay, so I'm going to start making use of this wax now. I'm going to give it a good shake up. It's the first time I've used it properly. Bloody traffic. It's the first time I've used it properly in anger. I have tried it very briefly on the V70 just to get rid of some watermarks. It's supposed to be a bit of a multi-purpose product, so that you can use it sort of as a drying aid or as a wet spray, which I think is why they give it the Flex Wax name. But for now, all I'm going to do is a fairly conventional application process. So I thought that was dust, but it's actually just the sheer number of stone chips in the windscreen. Not that that's a problem, because it's going to have one at some point. But anyway, so from what I've read, it's no more than 2 sprays per panel, and then just a case of distributing the product. It might have helped if I'd have actually read the instructions, but I'm assuming it needs to flash off. Before you buff it off. Should we actually read the instructions, Dave? Base coats. 2 sprays per panel, sprayed and wiped clean. Use a separate microfiber cloth to remove. Use a damp microfiber cloth to remove any dampy bits. Okay, so yeah. Whoops, I've just had an accidental fire there of some additional stuff. So again, I'm just going to overlap that. So this is basically putting a base coat on the car, much in the same way that if you use Meguiar's hybrid ceramic wax, you would apply a base coat to the car as well. Let's just deal with those extra spots I put on there. Okay, plop that there for a moment. It doesn't mention anything. Did it mention anything about cure time? I can't remember now. So it's 24-hour cure time, I think, is overall for the product itself. Base coat, spread and wipe, fold cloth as needed. Doesn't say anything about actual flash time or drying time, so I'm going to start buffing now. I might swap to one of the Costco microfibers, one of the Kirkland ones, because these are great that I use, but they haven't got a lot of bite, so they're very good for final finishes. But if you're trying to get a bit of product off your paintwork, they're almost a little bit too soft for the job. I don't see any evidence of any major streaking though, but like I say, I think I'm going to swap to we'll get a new microfiber out. Again, I always seem to open about 20,000 of these. I know this is, by the way, going to cause a huge shatter of illusion to anybody that's seen me do my supermarket belt stacking, where everything's super organised, but things have been a bit in disarray lately at home, so the state of my trolley and a few other things kind of is perhaps more a representation of where I am at the moment than anything else. Okay. Like I say, there's no obvious smearing or high spots on it. I do think for the bonnet I'm going to do 2 coats because it's quite a prominent area on the car, and then everywhere else I'll just do 1. So again, 2 sprays, and I'll take this layer off a bit faster this time. So yeah, although I would say the application is probably not as easy as the Meguiars, you do use a lot less product. Sounds like somebody else is washing a car today. There we go. Of interest, I might try. No, let's stick with spraying the panels, I think. I can't say it's hugely impressing me with its slickness either at this stage. Unless I'm applying it wrong, which I suppose is possible. Oops. Then again, this is one of those things that you'll find you suffer from if you spend a lot of time looking up really close at something like this, like paintwork. I sometimes struggle to see whether or not the gloss or the shine is improving, and you don't really tend to notice until you've stepped back and had a really good look at it. Oops, I wiped me out on the on the windscreen wiper. All right. Is that making a massive difference? I don't know. Not necessarily, but at least it's a layer of something. So let's crack on and do the rest. So I think that's probably only going to need one spray because it's a small panel. I'll wax some over the headlights as well because I can't imagine it's going to do any harm. I think you can actually spray this on your wheels as well, from what I understand. Just carry that bit of product across. There we go. It does spread very well. Interesting, it is actually it's still fetching dirt out of the paintwork as well. Oops. So say 1, 2, I'll go 3. 3 for the roof, it's quite a big panel. And so this is very much a first use experience, so much like the Meguiars, when I very first used it, to be honest with you, I didn't rate it at all. I think some products work much better once you've had an opportunity to do quite a few cumulative applications, and I certainly found that was the case with the hybrid ceramic wax. And maybe when I come to use it on my other cars, I'll feel the same about this stuff. But at the end of the day, anything's going to be better than nothing. A few gritty bits there, that's not good. That might require a change of cloth. Yeah, I mean that roof really needs a proper polish, I think. It's very flat. Okay. It's not a particularly warm day, so I am actually going to do the side in one hit and see if I have any trouble removing it. Again, that's a more typical way that I would tend to work with a sealant rather than doing it panel by panel, especially at this time of year. Maybe different in the summer. If we do the halfway point up to the car, it seems like not a bad way to do things. Stick some on these rear light clusters as well. See if it freshens these up. Yeah. Actually looking a bit, oops, I'll throw things around all over the place. Now it's got a bit of light on it, it's actually looking quite nice. It's quite a deep shine. Yeah, I think it does remove a tiny bit better with just that little bit of extra, small amount of extra cure time. You can see it's bringing them up a little bit as well, which is nice. Perhaps not quite as well as some other products I've used, but it's adding a bit of shine and slickness. Again, I'm not chasing perfection today. I've probably already spent far longer on this than makes any logical sense. I just want to get it as decent as I can get it in the time I've got, which isn't a lot, to be honest with you. Okay, seems reasonably slick. What I'll do is I'll let everything cure off a little bit more down that side, and then I'll give it another whiz over with a cloth in a second just to see if I've missed any other spots along the way. So this will be a good test. I'm going to leave that in direct sunlight. Although it's relatively mild November direct sunlight, it is still direct sunlight nevertheless. And we'll see if I have any removal problems along the way. Still got bits of moss bits of moss growing in it still, but never mind. There's only so much I can do to get this decent, so fair might have just stepped into the realms of over application of product as well, but it's all too easily done. I don't know what this is going to be like for hiding swirls and scratches either. Again, I found the Meguiars is very good for that. I don't know how well this flex wax is going to do. Yeah, still quite a bit of dirt coming off on that paint, which is interesting. So again, if I got a bit more time, I might have gone over the car with a layer of Autogylm super resin polish or something, because I find that's pretty good for dealing with stuff like that. It's very good for extracting ingrained dirt, but I have picked my direction of travel at the moment, so I haven't got time to change course now. Yeah, it seems to go on okay. Barking dogs. There's the other problem living around here. Right, so I need to throw some on the front bumper. Shall I make my life really difficult? Yeah, maybe not. Let's, before I do the front bumper, let's just start buffing off the bits I can see. The other thing I don't know with this stuff is whether or not it's plastic safe. I hope it is. Well, that seems to be coming off no bother at all, which is good. Yeah, okay, so I think there's a sweet spot in terms of curing time, and it's obvious that trying to take it off a little bit too soon just makes it more difficult to remove, which kind of makes sense really when you think about it. I might put one more layer on the bonnet on that basis and just let it sit for a little bit longer before I try and remove it. Yeah, I can just see where it's flashing off further down on there now. So again, these are things I'm used to the Meguiars, which is pretty much straight on, straight off. So it's getting to know a new product as well can take a bit of time, and that's why whenever I do reviews for car cleaning products moving forwards, I tend to, or I'm planning to do it as a cumulative application rather than a one-shot, because there have been things before where I've either not used them right or I've just run into something unexpected, and it could be down to technique, weather, conditions, inadequate surface preparation. You may find that something that's actually a good product might not perform as you expect, and I've seen that happen on a lot of product reviews. Windscreen repellents, that's the wrong word, water repellents on windscreens, I've seen that happen quite often on. It's perhaps a little bit harder to remove, but it is coming off. May just need to Go over the roof the other side one more time. Yeah, you can see those little overspray blobs, look. There we go. So it does look like it leaves a white residue as it cures. You can see it there, look. On the other sides, it's actually quite a thick. It's quite a thick residue. Yeah, that might require a bit of a damp cloth wipe down just to get rid of the worst of that, but we'll come back to that in a mo. Yeah, it's coming up very nice, that is. I say it's even revitalising those rear light clusters, and they're very scratched. They are. Again, if I have this car back in the future at any point, I'll do a proper clean up and buff on those. I've just not had the time with it that I hoped. Looks like there might be a little bit of rust starting to creep in down there as well. Just keep an eye on. Still a bit mucky around the Vauxhall badge, but never mind. Again, I'm not shooting for perfection today. In fact, I'm going to leave the second coat on the bonnet as well. It looks fine. Well, that doesn't sound very healthy. Yeah, you can see the overspray on the glass, look. Is that? Oh, that's a scuff. That looks like a football or something. There we go. Yeah, not necessarily the easiest product to remove, but it's not terrible. It's not causing me any major problems so far. I think it's always slightly trickier on a car of this colour. They do a paste wax version of this as well, which I was kind of intrigued by. But paste waxers are quite time consuming to apply, and I certainly haven't got the time at the moment to muck about with something like that. Yeah, they don't look too bad at all. Brighten them up a bit. Right, let's just get a layer on the bumper, and then we'll take a stand back and see what we think. But I don't know. I don't think that looks too shabby at all. There's still loads of grub around the rubbing strips, but again, I've got to try and give it another vacuum and clean all the interior glass yet. And as you can already see, it's November and I'm starting to run out of light already, so I might have to leave that, which is that's going against my OCD. But I think when you do a job like this, sometimes you've just got to... that's the wheel cleaner. Bugger. Nice work, Dave. There you go, that's one for the bloopers reel. Excellent. Oh, I'll wash that off now then. Fancy using the wrong bloody product. Use that. That'll teach me to pay more attention to what I'm doing. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Having just sprayed wheel cleaner on bumper, I think that's going to be something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. Like I say, it's all well and good having, I mean, I suppose I manage with the Autogylm products, but yeah, those two bottles are very similar, and there isn't a lot on them to differentiate them either, whereas a lot of other manufacturers, they go with very even if all the bottles share the same design language, they've got very distinctive colours on each to say what each one is. So I think you need to take a look at that turtle wax, because I think a lot of customers will make the same sort of mistake as I made then if they've got a suite of very similar looking products. Oh, what have I done with my applicator? Okay. I'm actually going to put it on some trim on the front, and we'll see whether or not it turns it white. I'll put a bit more on that headlight, a bit more on that headlight as well. Whew. Right then, I'll leave that to cure, and then we'll take the last bit off the bumper, and then I'll tackle the glass. There's something you don't see every day. Okay, so I've just allowed the bumper to flash off. Give those headlights a quick spruce up. Doesn't seem to cause any problems on black trim, so that's useful to know. I don't know, what do we think? I don't think that's turned out too bad, you know. It'll look even better when I've done all the black trims and stuff. However, because that's a messy process and I'm going to wind up with silicone all over my hands when I do it, the next thing I'm actually going to do is the glass, both inside and outside the car, particularly whilst I've got a bit of direct light left, because it'll help spot any streaks or smears. So we'll do that next. Right, so my weapon of choice today for cleaning the glass up is Autogylm Fast Glass. I do have some glass polish as well, should I really run into any tough spots, but usually this is good enough and leaves a relatively streak-free appearance. I've got two cloths, one to apply and go over it, and then if I need to I'll do a buff off with another one afterwards. But this is pretty good stuff, you don't tend to get much trouble with it. Oops. Just turn it over. So I think most of the muck on this, to be honest with you, is on the inside of the windscreen now. Being cautious not to apply too much pressure to the windscreen though, because it's got a crack in it and I really don't want to make it any worse than it already is. So I'll give it everything a final go over once I've done the inside, because unfortunately the glass is so dirty it's actually hard to see whether or not I'm getting rid of all the streaks. But there shouldn't really be any, given what I've done so far on the outside anyway. Right, that's out of the way. I think started tackling this interior glass, it would help if the rest of the car was unlocked. I really do need to sort these buttons out. There we go. Do that just in case it doesn't auto lock. Right. I'll start with that door there and this side of the windscreen. I'm going to give the car a quick vacuum again, so not too worried about causing any other problems at this stage. Oh, it's getting nice and close. Oh yeah. So this is probably the cleanest bit of glass actually on this side in the entire car. It's the passenger side. It's pretty much immaculate. Everything else is filthy. A little bit knocked in that corner there. Not going to lose any sleep over that. That's all good. No streaks in that. Now the bit I'm dreading, so you can probably see that crack in the windscreen there, and it really doesn't take much for it to flex and expand. So I really don't want to cause any additional problems on that side of things, so I'm going to have to be very, very careful and gentle with what I'm doing. I think there's a good layer of scum on the inside of this windscreen. Apologies if you just keep hearing me bashing the inside. Oh, not even nice, just a scratch. Not sure if it was another crack there. She's got being very, very ginger with it and trying not to apply too much in the way of pressure, because like I say, that would be bad and it will just cause other problems, and I've had enough of problems this week. Again, if I could just get rid of the worst of the grime and the muck, that'll do me. Like I say, you can see it cleans up pretty nicely. Just get in that corner and up there. It's looking much better already, I think. Yeah, much better. Okay, so we'll tackle the absolutely gross driver's side in a minute. But first, we need to get in the back. Chuck those back there. Oh. And then complete this completely undignified process. Oh, I don't want to crush that. Let's see if I can glue that before I take it over to Sammy. Oh. Right. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Oh, I've got a seatbelt right in me bum. Ow. There you go. I didn't expect to hear that on the channel today. Oh, it's just gross, that is. But it's quite a good test of fast glass, to be fair. It doesn't take much just to clean it up, and like I say, it's pretty. Sometimes you do get a tiny bit of streaking with it, but it's pretty good overall. It's better than a lot of the other products, glass cleaning products I've tried over the years, and it doesn't smell offensive. There's no vinegary smell to them or anything like that, and it doesn't seem to affect plastics too badly either if you get any overspill onto any plastics. I think you'll have to agree, that looks a darn sight better than it did. While I'm back here, I may as well do this one as well, which is equally gross. like I say, they perhaps would benefit from a layer of glass polish, but again, I'm just not. I haven't got time today to do the degree of interior cleanery that I would like to do. So it's going to have to be what it is. There we go. That's looking much better though. Again, you might be able to just see there's a tiny little bit of hologram in there. A quick wipe and it's gone. So you just got to. It can make glass quite grabby, so if you are using a new microfiber, just go over it very, very lightly, because otherwise you'll transfer lots of little microfiber bits to your glass and then you'll get annoyed and then you'll feel sad. Right, let's plonk that on there, not on the handbrake, because I really want to roll it into the car behind me, although it is in gear, it should be. Right. Uh-oh, pardon me. Yeah, paint feels lovely and slick. So, yeah, I do think I quite like the Flex Wax. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, but I think it is going to be a good product for me going forwards. Right. We'll get in there now. Put that in my pocket rather than leaving it in the car. I do have another key though, so at least I'm not too likely to lock myself out. Sort these fairly grim bits of glass out as well. Right. Put myself into the midge position, and I've got most of the way down on that side. Again, it's actually quite nice to clean such a small car because everything's dead easy to reach. I'm used to cleaning much bigger cars where you can play football on the dashboard because it's so enormous and everything's miles away from you. Whereas there is something quite nice about just being in a little car where everything's reachable. Nice XC90. Yeah. I am that internet meme whenever I see another XC90, or another XC90, just another Volvo in general, to be honest with you. And this little experience has made me realise I can juggle 3 cars, which is not a good thing because that means I will wind up juggling 3 cars. And probably annoying everybody, including myself. I suppose the 3rd car would have to be a small one, but I still haven't ruled out getting an MX-5 at some point in the next 12 months, depending on the state of the world and everything else. But on a slightly, I don't know. I think here we are. This is philosophical corner whilst Dave does detailing. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and also there's a lot that can happen to you throughout your life. So if you've got the opportunity to do something that you're passionate about, my advice to you is just get on and do it, because nobody knows how long any of us is going to be around for, and what's going to happen in our lives. So yeah, if you've got the opportunity to do something that you're passionate about, don't leave it. Don't hang about. Don't go, tomorrow. You know, if you've got the means in front of you to do it, get it done. Don't wonder what might have been, because there's nothing sadder than a missed opportunity. And here therein ends my philosophical words for this video, and we'll get back to what it was supposed to be about, which was cleaning a Corsa. The windows are steaming up in here, so I'll just breathing too much. There we go. That's better. No air conditioning in this Corsa, which my sister is going to be absolutely thrilled about, I'm sure, when she finds that out. But from my point of view, that's one less thing to go wrong. Having had at least one air conditioning compressor seize on a cheap car, and that's one of those repairs that really can make an old car sort of no longer economically viable to repair. Not having something like that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's too many not necessarilies in one sentence, but you get the idea. I don't know whether this is a POV car wash video now or a vlog. I can't really make my mind up. So sorry about that, folks. This is an experiment, really, to see how it's received. So it's going to be far longer than I originally planned, because I was originally only going to do like a few bits. That's a bit loose there. that bit of trim there is that's coming off. Nice. Excellent. Okay. Fantabidozo. Why is that coming off? I don't know. Alright. I'll just have to hope it's... I don't think it's going to drop off. It's obviously missing some clips. There's a rattle in this driver's door that makes me think it's been off the car at some point anyway. Again, if I get this back, I'll try and do something about that. But for now, there's not a lot I can do. Right, I think the windscreen is good enough. It is not perfect, but it is good enough. And yes, I will be going over the interior with a cloth as well. Oh. Right, let's get this absolutely filthy back window sorted. How was the other thing I wanted to do? I wanted to try and fix this. But, I think, yeah, it's the actual bit there that's popped out. Yeah, that's a shame. And I'll have to see if I can come up with something at some point to sort that out. Okay. Suppose I ought to check the GoPro lens as well and make sure that I haven't actually covered it in schmutz and schmoo. Right. That was seriously filthy. That's much better. Right then, I think now the glass is clean. I think you've got to agree it's looking... I think it's looking a darn sight better than it did. I'm going to take some photos actually whilst I've still got a bit of sun and a bit of decent light on it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that overall. I think it's a tree that's casting a shadow on that, so hopefully I'll get a bit more light in a moment. But now that I've done the glass, I thought before I get lots of greasy silicone product on my hands, I'd get these wiper blades done. These are some Amazon cheapies, I'm afraid, so it may backfire on me somewhat. What I did find quite fascinating when I read the reviews for these was that some people mark them down, and the reason they marked them down was because they were annoyed that nobody explained that you had to remove this green protector from the wiper blade. Now just remember, folks, those idiots are driving out there with you. So let's remove that. So just the stupidity sometimes of the things I see staggers me. But like I say, they seem reasonable enough, and I think it was about £16 for all the wiper blades altogether. Slightly funky retention mechanism, which obviously I've not read the instructions for, because why would I? Yeah. Maybe I should read the instructions on how that works, possibly. What do we think? Let me just check my view as well, make sure that's okay. Looks like it. Or if I need to tilt down just a smidge. So my battery went flat, so I've had to readjust. So let's see if I can see if you can see what I can see. That looks okay there. Right, let's do the rear first, because that's nice and straightforward. Then I'll worry about following instructions later. See, it even says rear wiper blade, so that you don't try and fit it to the front. Because you can bet people will. I've also only got 20 minutes of footage left on this SD card, which will shock nobody. So that means I'm going to have to probably break out the next one. Speaking of breaking, let's try and not break this in the process. It's in there well. There we go. That's the old one out, and as you can see, it is well and truly shagged. I think these do these go a particular way round, or are they universal length? It looks like they might be a universal length. We'll clip it in and see how it sits. There we go. Nice. So that's the first wiper blade done. Now I suppose I ought to read some instructions. Instructions. Instrucciones. There are no instrucciones. Okay. So, how does that work then? Oh. Well, that's interesting. There's, they look like different length blades to me. Am I sure this is the right kit? Oh right, so that one is the shorter blade and that one is the longer blade. Interesting. Okay. Right, so it looks like, yeah, they just go on in the conventional manner. I'm used to the more modern push tab style now. This is probably how this windscreen got cracked in the first place. There we go. Right, so I want the longer of the two in front of the driver. Really? How on earth are you supposed to... Because that's got to pop off, surely. You know you're doing well when you have to actually go on the internet to figure out how to fit a set of wiper blades, which is not my proudest moment, to be honest with you. So apparently this just pulls up. That's what it says. Doesn't feel like it to me. What's going on here? I'm going to watch that video again. Where's my phone? I can't believe I'm struggling this much with a wiper blade. I'm actually going to have to change my SD card before I can finish fitting a set of wiper blades. How ridiculous is this? Right. U-hook type fitting. Let's have a look. March 2020. You've got to hope they haven't changed the design since then.
10 minutes food delivered to your door is fantastic. Yeah.
Bugger off YouTube ads. Yeah. Simple as that. I can see the hingy bit in the front now, actually looking at it. wonder if you have to... Ow! Oh, go. Okay, so we've had to resort to tools to get this sorted. Well, that actually does give me an opportunity to shout out Tolly Swift, who's supplied me with these Bojo trim tools. I'll include a link to his site in the description below. I've bought a load of tools off him to do to try and tackle some interior rattles in both the V70 and in this. And I'm sure if this comes back, I will use various tools he's sent me to get those to bits as well. It's always the same when I start talking. I have to have about 12 million vehicles go by, but there you go. Struggling with my fingers and pops straight out with a trim tool. But it's the first time I've ever had to use a trim tool to be able to mount a set of wiper blades, so I'm not going to give the clip design on this a particularly high rating, to be honest with you. I've fitted plenty of other retrofit flat blades that have been a darn sight easier. I think this is committed to fighting me all the way, I think, by the looks of things. In fact, come on, there we go. I think that's in. It's nearly there. I'm not 100% happy with how that's sitting. I wonder if I can just push this off the... Yeah, maybe not. I don't want to pull the wiper arm off its spindle particularly either, but if you look, I think those little tabs are supposed to be past that end bit there, so ouch, I think is the word I'll use there. I'll tell you what, I wonder if... No, I don't think I can. No, I think it would have to be on the... I think because of the design of this, it's going to have to be on the wiper blade itself, annoyingly. Let's just give this another go. I'll have to spray something on it, I think, to help it along its way, possibly. So it's getting to that stage all right, and then it's just not... It's not doing the last bit. There we go, that's better. Now it won't slip off. So that's what you want, those two little tabs there, if you can see them, assuming I'm giving you a good enough angle. Lock it in. Right, that's one wiper blade on. Let's do the other. And then I probably will just knock the ignition on and make sure that these don't bash into each other, because they are subtly different sizes. So what went before though? Actually, maybe they are the same. Yeah, I think they are the same. I just want to make sure that they don't knock into each other. Yeah, like I say, you just can't get that open. Oh, pardon me, you just can't get that open with your fingers at all. That trim tool, straight in. And obviously you're better off using a plastic trim tool than a screwdriver, because you would hope you are less likely to damage things. I always hate fitting the passenger side blades. They're always harder because the spindle's in the wrong place. In fact, I might try and do this from this side of the car. Again, because it's a relatively small one, it's probably going to be marginally easier, he says. Oh, noisy blackbird's back. Tonight, man struggles with wiper blade fitting. Come on. Yeah, these are rubbish. Don't buy cheap wiper blades off the internet, folks. Oh, you don't need to see me struggling with the rest of this. Okay, mild temper tantrum over. There we go. Done. Done and on. Right. Clippity them into there. And I'm just going to give the... I wouldn't normally give the wiper blades a run on a dry windscreen, but it is just clean, so I think it'll be fine. Right. Oops. Take it out of gear if I've got to go to stage 2. Yeah, that seems fine. Doesn't look like they're going to contact one another. Excellent. Yeah, done, but that was a bit of a bloody faff. So, grab the old wiper blades, because I think they're going to go straight in the bin, because they have seen much better days. Okie dokie then, so we're now on to the dressing the plastic stage. I've got a few products available to me, but what I'm going to go with is this rather worryingly squashed bottle of Meguiars Hot Shine. I'm actually not that keen on this, and I'm going to go back to using what I used to use, which was just Autogylm instant tyre dressing. But I've got this, I may as well use it up, and I'm just going to chuck it on this applicator, rub it around everything that's either a tyre or a piece of black plastic, and then we'll take some external pictures. Obviously wearing gloves for this because the damn stuff gets everywhere, as you might imagine. Yeah, I think if you're after a Meguiars tyre product, I would happily recommend their tyre gel, but I've not found this Hot Shine spray to be all that great, to be honest with you. It's quite thin, it doesn't seem to really last all that long. And I don't think you really gain anything on the spray application versus applying it with a normal applicator, at least in my opinion anyway. You know, there might be other folks out there that use this product and absolutely love it. I'm not so keen on it. I certainly won't be buying any more moving forwards. I prefer the gels, they're just a little bit easier to work with, and they're also less likely to sling as well, because these will sling as soon as I go for a drive in it, which is very, you know, something that's quite annoying. If you get your car nice and cleaned up and you've dressed the tyres, ideally you want a product that's not going to then wind up all down the side of your car, and this is just a little bit too watery in my opinion to make a good tyre dressing / trim dressing product in general. It's quite good for tarting things up, but yeah, I'm not impressed in terms of longevity or applications. Not recommended. I'm actually going to spray some right into those gaps there though. It'll get right in and it might provide just a little bit of rust protection. Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to be quite liberal with these because I don't think these tyres have seen any tyre shine whatsoever in the last God knows how many years. Again, if I was being super duper particular about this, then I might be tempted to move the car forward a little bit so that you don't get any patches on the wheels that aren't fully covered, but it's not that critical. And again, once this is all on, I'll go around everything and just make sure that nothing's dribbling down. Because nobody wants an unwanted dribble. The one area I won't dress on this car, however, is the cowl underneath the windscreen, because I've made that mistake on a car in the past. And all that happens is the first time it rains, all the product works its way up onto the windscreen, and then it doesn't matter how good your wiper blades are, you're in a bit of a mess. So yeah, don't recommend that. Again, I'm not going to go too mad, but if I can get some of this in. Yeah, just tidy things up a little bit. It doesn't make the... I did wonder if it would make the number plate go darker. It really does need another number plate, I think. But it's not likely to be misread, but it's certainly getting that way. I'm curious that wasn't an advisory on the last MOT. Okay, I think that looks presentable enough. There's a few little bits I've missed. Obviously do the bottom of the bumper as well. We'll go around everywhere afterwards and just tidy up any bits where I've gone over on the bodywork. I think that looks a lot better already. I think we're getting there now. This is looking, it's looking all right. This is, for the trim pieces glossed up a little bit. So I'm going to do the same on the other side here where this arch is. I'm just going to chuck a load of this in that gap just to see if it helps slow down any of the rust. It's probably not going to do much, but it is better than nothing. That trim piece there done, and I think we are largely... Oh, we need to do that rear tyre. We're largely done, which is good because I think I must be coming towards the end of this SD card. There we go. tidy up any smeary bits. Oh, missed a bit there. So if we can spread a bit of product, that'll do. Not put too much on the wheels. And chances are this is all going to run the first time it rains anyway. It'll look nice for the purposes of the thumbnails. Spread that there again a little bit as well. A little bit more even. So there we go. That's the exterior pretty much done. And I don't think that's too shabby at all. It's come up quite nice. I think it looks quite good with all the trim pieces dressed. So I've got a little bit more work to do on the interior to sort a few bits and pieces out on it, but yeah, I think overall I think that's a nice amount of shine. I'm quite happy with that. I think that will do the job very nicely. Like I say, I'm going to give some of the interior parts a bit of a quick wipe down and then we'll be done, but I did want to capture these shots just whilst I've got a little bit of nice light left, because I suspect that's going to disappear on me shortly. Yes, for a £500 car I think that scrubs up very nicely. Now we're very much at the final phase of the operation for me, which is trying to get the interior cleaned up a little bit in a few places. So we've got some slightly grubby bits of trim, which again I'm just going to give a very quick spray down with some interior cleaner. In fact, I may have some where's the Autogylm interior shampoo? I might use that first, because I know this doesn't tend to affect trim too badly, whereas the Demon Shine I've actually found can cause a little bit of trim whitening to happen in places which I really don't want to occur. So I'm just going to use this, and I have to clean the glass again in a few places afterwards, but I'm just going to use this just to get the worst of the muck off, and then I'm going to give everything a quick wipe down with some vinyl and rubber care just to brighten everything up. But again, this is given the amount of time I've got left, probably not going to be quite as in full and in depth on the interior as I would have liked to have done. But I'm going to be fighting light, I think, before too long. Again, I'm just going to try and get what muck I can. Could probably do with attacking some of these bits with a brush, actually. And then, like I say, I'm going to give the interior one last quick vacuum. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to put the old mats in as well, which I really didn't want to do, but it doesn't look like the new ones are turning up today, frustratingly. The thing I'll do is I just want to get an idea in my seating position what the windscreen view is going to be like in super view. So it's a little bit closer than that. That doesn't look too bad actually for a driving position. Steering wheel sat at the bottom. Again, probably a little bit closer than that. That's more comfortable for me, because I probably am going to record a POV drive as well. On the way back, or on the way to dropping off rather. I don't really want to spray that on the windscreen if I can avoid it. Again, I'm just going to hit some of the interior plastics with this first, just to effectively dampen it down and get rid of the first layer of grub and muck off it. and then go over it again with some vinyl and rubber care afterwards. That should hopefully leave everything looking quite nice. As I say, in an ideal world this would be getting, I would probably have the carpets out of this car, I think, to do this properly, and have the centre console out and everything else, but time is against me now. Well, daylight is against me, time really isn't against me. There's plenty of time left in the working day to try and get this done. Better not go too hard on that, because that's going to take that off. Needless to say, I think I said in the walk around video I had contemplated trying to get hold of a oh, that's off, of a replacement gear knob and stuff. I haven't done that. Again, it's just time and everything else. It's not practical, so we're just going to see how we do. But I might get a little bit of leather cleaner on that steering wheel as well, or even a magic sponge, and just see if I can pull some of the muck out of that as well, because that's a bit gribbly grimy. You've got to be careful with steering wheels, because if you overdo it you can actually wind up just making them sticky and horrible, which is obviously not what I want. But yeah. Let's try a bit of this. Like I say, I'm a little bit wary of this all-purpose cleaner. Oops, let's try not tripping over that, eh? Yeah, you can see it's quite when you really start pushing down into it, it's quite grim in a few smaller detail places that I just haven't got time to really get into. I'd like to do all the pedals and everything else, and it's just not going to be a practical proposition today, sadly. But if I can just give it a little bit of a freshen up, then that will do. One thing that did really surprise me about this car is it's not got an adjustable steering column, which you know, I thought a non-adjustable steering column was something of the dark ages, but apparently it was an option on these. Nice. There's a fair bit coming off that. I am half tempted to magic sponge this steering wheel, though you've got to be careful. I think, to be fair, the leather colouring is coming off it in places like it has done there. But I'll have to just see what comes off. Yeah, there's always that horrible stage when you first clean a steering wheel where it goes all sticky. Nice. All the muck coming off that. Off the handbrake lever as well. Let's put it back in gear if I'm fiddling with the handbrake lever, eh? I don't particularly want that to launch on me. Yeah, we're very much now, I'm afraid, in the quick and dirty stage of trying to get things clean, because now the sun's gone down, it's going to catch up on me quite rapidly. So I think rather than trying to record too much more of the interior, I'm going to stop now, get round it really quickly, and then I will do another update in a little bit. Activating James May mode. So surprising how effective that is. Some of these Corsas have got some absolutely terrible dust traps built into the design of the dashboard, I've got to say. But, it's quite effective at knocking the dust out. There you go, steering wheel's no longer sticky, that's a relief. Again, I'm not going for absolute perfection here, but if I can just get the worst of it out. There's a couple of areas there, like around the top of the door handles. This is why I really don't think, I think I might have said this before, nobody who's designed a car interior has ever had to clean one. I'm convinced of it, because if they did, I think they designed them very differently. So, I'll just knock all the dust out of the cracks and all the major places. It's already looking better. It might not come across on video, but it's looking better to me. So I'm going to hoover everything one last time anyway, before it gets too dark. Yeah, that's got rid of all the crap around the around there and everywhere else. Yeah, it's made a good difference. And while that's not facing the driver, it's better. Yeah, it's looking a bit better. Now I'm just going to get a little bit of vinyl and rubber care now on a cloth and go around the whole interior. I'm not going to bother recording that. I'll just show you what it looks like when it's done. There we go. Yeah, I thought I'd skip the application of the vinyl and rubber care, because this is probably a video that's already too long. But that's just given the final lift to the interior. As you can see the reason why I didn't want to muck about, because I'm already rapidly losing light. So yes, I think in terms of cleaning up the inside of it, this is pretty much where it's now going to have to stop, because I'm running out of both light and time. So what I will do at the end of this video is I will post a few before and after pictures. I mean, you can see, look, the mist is descending and it's causing everything to go all dewy, so I'm not going to get many more decent pictures out of it now anyway. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little Corsa cleanup video. There may be some more in the videos in the future. There'll certainly be a POV drive, although that may well be in the dark, but I suppose it's better than nothing. And yeah, I've quite enjoyed my albeit brief time with this car, despite a few little dramas. Whoops. Hey, there's one for the blooper reel. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this. Please do consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in another one where it'll probably almost definitely now be something Swedish related, but we'll see. Anyway, cheerio.